Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Grow up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Today we're talking about travel, but not in the top 10 places you should visit kind of way. More like how travel used to feel, how it feels now, and what that says about our changing culture. I didn't get on a plane for the first time until I was 16. And when I did, it was a big deal. You dressed differently, you planned differently, and there was a real sense that travel was a privilege. It wasn't casual, it was intentional. And watching how both of you experience travel has made me realize just how much that has changed.
For me, travel has always felt possible. Not always easy and not always cheap, but possible. I've flown by myself since I was young, and lately I felt this pull to take small solo trips just because I can. To go somewhere I've been eyeing, to answer to no one, and see what it's like to move through the world alone. But I also know that kind of freedom isn't universal, and it hasn't always existed. So I'm really interested in talking about how access, independence, and even spontaneity factor into how my generation thinks about travel, and whether or not we sometimes take it for granted.
I don't normally travel just for the sake of travel or just to say that I did. When I go somewhere, there's usually a reason, something I want to do, see, or experience that matters to me. Like attempting to take on the John Muir Trail in California, not because it was trendy or impressive, but because it was a challenge that I wanted to take on. And it was one that beat me. I think that's where this conversation can get interesting. Are we traveling to collect experiences, to escape, to post, or to actually engage with something different? And how does that answer change depending on when you grew up and what travel meant in your family?
So today we're navigating our generational differences in travel, economics, access, independence, road trips versus planes, how Americans are seen abroad, and whether travel is still a luxury or if it's just logistics. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Mom. So just to start, I want to know what your best travel adventure has been so far.
That's a hard
just
one. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that even though I didn't make it all that far, the JMT is definitely up there. Just going someplace by yourself, meeting a friend out in the middle of nowhere, taking literally trains, planes, and automobiles to get there, to get started, was a really, I don't want to just say interesting. Like it was, even though so I broke my foot 4 days into this hike, but just the ability to take a month off for a planned, not really vacation, but experience, get there, manage it, and then to be out there in the middle of nowhere with just me and my friend was like confidence building almost. I'd say that one is probably up there for sure.
Yeah. Cal?
I don't have one. I have been so lucky to travel to lots of different places. I have a funny one. When I went to Santiago, Chile, I had never been. I didn't really know what to expect. And I'm going through the airport where I can read nothing. And you have zero cell phone service. And so you can't even let me Google really quick and see how I need to go about calling an Uber. And I'm walking through kind of their immigration stuff to enter the country for the first time. And I was with somebody else and he was fine to go ahead and walk through the visitors section. And they were like, no, ma'am, you are a local. You need to come through here. And I was like, what? And I can't speak Spanish and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I'm looking at everybody else going, what am I supposed to do right now? But apparently I look like a local in Santiago, Chile, 14 hours away on a flight, someplace I had never been. And I felt at home. It was kind of funny.
Not what I would expect you to look like in Santiago.
Me neither. And then I got into traveling around town and I was like, I do kind of fit in here. Okay. All right.
See, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine is totally different from y'all's. I think my favorite trip, your dad and I did a diners, drive-ins, and dives trip where we literally planned where we were going. Our
road trip.
ultimate goal was Vermont for the fall with a bypass to the Niagara Falls because we'd never been to Niagara. But our whole trip was planned on where to eat at one of the Triple D places. And that's probably been 10 years ago, and we ate so well. And we had fun just hopping from one place to eat to the next place to eat.
I remember you guys calling and giving updates and talking about where you had been and what you had. But my favorite from that trip is I feel like you were in St. Louis. I could be totally wrong, but they were throwing bread at you. Like intentionally, like the baseball players were, do you want bread? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then they would just chunk it at you and you had to be ready to catch it.
Across the room.
Yes.
Across the room. Don't make eye contact or you're getting a roll.
Yes.
Yeah. That was in Missouri, I think.
Okay.
Home of the throne roll.
Yes.
And I was so excited because I caught mine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but you said they were like high school, college baseball players. So they had arms on them and they were using them.
It was wild. Yeah.
So
not your normal dining experience. And the food was good. So, yeah. Fun. Okay. So let's jump in. So we looked it up and it's Sean Duffy who wants people to start dressing better to make planes. That he feels like there'll be less friction, people getting in less trouble if they stop wearing their pajama pants and dress up to fly.
Yes. The U.S. Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
I think that there's potential for that to have at least some merit. There's a lot of credence to the phrase, dress for the job you want.
Mm.
Like, if I'm walking around with a tie and a jacket on, I'm going to carry myself differently than if I'm wearing pajama pants and slippers. I just am.
And you're going to be treated differently.
Yeah.
And I am going to say, we're going to get haters for this. Pajama pants are not the right place for the airport or the grocery store. They're pajama pants. So put on your leggings or put on your sweatpants or put on your blue jeans, but don't go in your pajama pants.
Do you think sweatpants are better?
No.
Than pajama pants? Yeah.
They're the same thing.
Yeah, I would say they're about the same.
Okay. I guess I'm thinking I have on a nice pair of tailored sweatpants right now. So.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking the old Hanes or Champion brand, baggy men's sweatpants that are broken in and comfortable and you just want to lounge in. I don't want to see those at the airport.
I do those better than I would, Santa Claus pajama pants.
Fair
unicorn
enough.
Pajama pants,
I get it. Planes are uncomfortable. You want to be as comfortable as you can. I don't think you can make a Spirit flight comfortable.
And see, I was just thinking, I don't think planes are uncomfortable for the most part.
I think you're a normal size human, and so that makes a difference.
Yeah, that is true. It's completely different to fly with your dad than it is for just me to fly.
I also think that, and obviously I'm not a man and have never been a man, but I would suspect that it is much easier for women to dress up in more comfortable clothes that can kind of accomplish both than it is for men.
I don't know that I agree with that. It's just as easy for me to put on a pair of blue jeans as it is for me to put on a pair of pajama pants.
But you're sitting in there. I could wear a nice pair of yoga pants, for lack of a better word here, and they would be cute. I could wear them with heels and I would be fine. What kind of stretchy fabric can you wear?
My jeans are stretchy. Just get good quality jeans.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say,
not a dude.
I do remember, I think it was the Midland Airport. I was flying through. I was dressed very nicely because I was on a business trip, but I had a sewn in belt buckle. And it was the first time that the alarms had ever gone off on me. I mean, they were actually having to wand me because of my belt buckle. And it's like, can you remove that? I'm like, no, it's stitched on here. And they're like, so
These are my pants, man.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
So
Bet you didn't fly in those again.
no, never. It's a beautiful dress. Never flew in it again.
That's so funny. So you were talking about flying for work, and when you were flying for work, you were flying often.
I was flying pretty often.
Yeah. How often are you guys flying these days?
It's
I
been
mean,
over a year since I've been in a plane. Probably closer to 2.
yeah, I'm really kind of sitting here trying to think not that long ago. So, I mean, I would say from once to 2 or 3 times a year on average over the last 5 or 6 years, probably.
All right. All right. And have you noticed a change in the attire of your fellow passengers, travelers?
No, but I'm pretty much oblivious. I've worked in the service industry for a long time, so I've kind of developed the ability to just tune other people out. I mean, I am watchful of people's actions, and what they're wearing is less significant, I guess. Like I'm probably watching faces and hands more than I'm looking at their clothes.
So, Cal, when you're doing international, what's the difference?
Let's say, so I flew first class when we went to Chile, and it was night and day. And then on my way back from Chile, we were slotted to get upgraded to business class, I think it was, and counting on that, and something happened and it didn't come through. And so I ended up in economy. And if that was my first experience with flying, or that had been my entire 14-hour plane ride, I'm not sure I would do that again. I am spoiled. It was a lot of
10 hours in
people
economy is rough.
and a lot of smells and a lot of chaos. I didn't love that. Also, flying back from Chile was really weird because they have very different, like, pre-boarding, what do you call that? Procedures. Thank you. And so you're literally walking down the sky bridge, right?
Yeah.
Like where you would get on the plane. So in the United States, you've already gone through all of security. That isn't the case. You go through customs and border patrol, and then you walk into the rest of the airport, but nobody's looking at your bag. Nobody's checking anything to make sure you have a ticket. And they don't do that until you're literally walking down the gangway. And then they have card tables set up in the middle of the gangway, like just card tables, right? And you have to open your suitcase, and they kind of rifle through everything. And then you can close it back. You sit down there for a minute and they look up everything on a computer. It's all very temporary and mobile. And then you close your suitcase up and you finish your little pre-flight interview, and then you board the plane, and the next person pulls up to the card table and opens all of their stuff and goes through it all.
And does
was
it
weird.
go relatively fast?
No. No, it
I
was
think for
time
me,
consuming.
because I used to travel a lot before COVID, that today to fly makes me more nervous because I'm not used to the processes. You know, do I still need to take my shoes off and put them in the bin? What do I have to take off? Or should I have gotten, what's the one, something
TSA
pre-check? And that doesn't make sense if I'm traveling once every 5 years kind of thing. And I haven't traveled internationally hardly at all. I mean, Mexico and Canada. And I did make the border guard mad in Canada. I thought I was being funny and he didn't think I was.
Oh, yeah? What were you being funny about?
I was just being me. I wasn't even being snarky, but I don't think he liked my looks at all. And he had no sense of humor. So I figured out to shut up
What
pretty
was
quick.
the joke?
Yeah, there was a
Lord, I
joke
have
for
no
sure.
idea. That was a long time ago. I mean, I was just being me. You know, he didn't. He didn't like it.
So, Cole, have you been to other countries? Have you traveled internationally?
Mexico. It's the only one, really. That was on a cruise.
So I did just a little bit of research, and around 75% of American adults have visited at least one other country in their lifetime. So that leaves about 25% who have never. And then roughly 26% of American adults have been to 5 or more countries. And only 11% of American adults have been to 10 or more foreign countries, which I
Yeah.
thought was really fascinating.
Yeah. I'm surprised that 75% have been, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, not
Cancun.
too long ago.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be counting Mexico and Canada into that,
Cruises.
and I think if you would take those out, that would eliminate that
Drastically
number.
reduce those numbers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
But I will say all of the trends and all of the research has talked about how 2025 was very much a dip in international travel for Americans. Much,
When was
much
that?
less.
Was that economics?
Part of
I
it
would
was
expect so.
part of it was
Or
economic uncertainty. Part of it was just the rising cost of everything. And then, I mean, you had everything going on with the air traffic controllers and the shortage of them and all of the plane crashes that I think had a bunch of people really scared and spooked.
yeah. Well, and depending on where you're going, if you're going in, I mean, there are lots of places that I don't want to go. Like if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I might have told you Israel. I'm not going to Israel right now. Or anywhere near there just because of the conflict that's going on and the risk that seems to be involved in all of that.
I think that there's a lot more going on in the world. Cole, I'd be really curious as to your take on this, but I would tell you that there's a lot more conflict going on in more places in the world than has been in all at once in a long time.
I mean, close to popular travel destinations, yeah, that's probably reasonable. I mean, Europe is kind of in conflict right now with everything going on between Ukraine and Russia. There's more South American tension here recently. Relationships with Brazil have been more stressed than they have in the relatively recent past, probably more now than 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, yeah, traveling to the Middle East, I would imagine, would not be super enticing to the average American. I've seen probably a growth in travel to like Asia, Japan, and Korea. That's probably up in the last 10 years or so. I think they're much more accessible than they were previously. But yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily more conflict right now. I think it's located a little bit differently. I think that there's also just in general more tension between countries. It almost feels like there's some ideological differences that are causing a growth in tension, almost like unilaterally.
Yeah, I could see that.
So do you think that some of that kind of downtick of international travel as Americans has to do with what's going on in the world, or do you think it has to do more so with how we are viewing it or what's being fed to us via the media? Or do you think it's just that our expectations for travel are changing? We're valuing it differently.
I think our generation in particular values travel very highly. I
I would
think
agree.
that we are very interested in, look, there aren't explorers anymore. It's just not really a thing. We have so much known world to explore that is unfamiliar to us that we've never gotten to see with our own eyes. So I think our generation finds that very attractive.
Uh-huh.
I also think that our generation struggles economically to do that.
Sure.
I think that's probably the driving factor in most of the decrease in travel over the last couple of years is the economic factor and less the geopolitical turmoil. I'm sure that there is some of that. Absolutely.
I think y'all look at it differently too. I mean, my travel has generally been family related or some type of celebration. You know, like Dad and I did our first cruise for our 25th wedding anniversary that we would never have done any other way. But y'all can do, and those tend to be long term. You know, those are going to be a week to 10 days with a lot of planning and appointments and all that kind of stuff. And I think y'all do them differently. Y'all can decide, I don't have anything to do this weekend. Let's go to wherever. And y'all are comfortable with hopping on a plane and doing that and taking a backpack with you. And for me, packing would take me 3 days to make sure that I didn't leave anything behind or what I needed. And y'all travel lighter. I think you travel easier.
We have so much information in our pockets and at our fingertips. Outside of the safety factor, all of the worry is alleviated. I know what the weather's going to be. I know what's going on this weekend. I know how long it's going to take me to get there. I know all of the things that I'm going to be doing and have a general idea of where I'm going to go, the kind of trip I'm building. It's not hard to
What
pack
I'm
for
looking
that.
for when I get there, but I don't need like a firm itinerary. I need to go, okay, I'm going to do these things and then I can figure it out when I get there. I think
Yeah.
we're just more acclimated to utilizing the technology,
Yes.
to utilizing those resources. It comes more naturally to us just because we've got such a more significant portion of our lives inundated with it.
Yeah.
Callie's got somebody, I guess on Threads, Cal, that is doing day trips. And I was watching a couple of those the other day, and this is a woman in the first place who gets up early in the morning and catches an early morning flight. She has a
6
place
a.m.
she has a place that she's going to go have breakfast. She has an activity that she's going to do mid-morning. She's going to have a lunch somewhere. She might have something to do that afternoon. She's probably going to have dinner, and then she's going to be back in her bed by around 11 o'clock midnight.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that is absolutely fascinating to me. I think that would be so much fun to do, and I would probably be a wreck at the same time.
I suspect that that's, and I feel this way about a lot of things, and I kind of say it a lot. I suspect that's a muscle. You start working it out and it hurts the first couple of times you do it, but then you just get used to it and you get stronger and you power through and you say, oh, now I know what to expect. Now I'm going to do it. So even as the destination changes, your mentality doesn't. You've worked all of that out. You've built a routine and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I need. These are the things that are important to me. I mean, I have a checklist on my phone and my notes app of these are the things that I want to make sure that I pack. And some of it's really silly stuff. I want to make sure that I take my eye mask and I want to put it in my carry-on bag, no matter what. Because I'm going to have it. I want to be able to grab it out of my purse kind of thing to sleep on the plane. I want to make sure that I have Advil in my carry-on bag. I want to make sure that I have a white noise machine, but that can go in my checked bag. No big deal. Even my one that goes in the upper, whatever it's called, the overhead compartment, the
Baggage.
overhand bin. Yeah. I mean, because I don't need that. But I have, and there's notes in my little list. Make sure this is here. Make sure this is there. Make sure you have this. Don't forget to take your Zyrtec. I mean, whatever it may be. And so now it doesn't matter where I'm going. It doesn't matter how long I'm going for. I'm going to pull up that list, run through it really quick, and then I'm not worried about anything else. I can figure all of the rest of it out.
I have a list too. It's completely different from yours.
We should compare lists. I would love to see. I'm so curious.
And y'all, I think, want to get on a plane. I grew up traveling in a car.
I grew up traveling in a car, primarily.
I think it kind of depends. I think it depends on where I'm going, what I'm going for. Like
The purpose.
it's pretty regular. Like I go to Denver at least once every 2 or 3 years. I've been to Denver several times in the last 10 or 15. I've driven and flown multiple times. It depends. Like, what am I going for? Do I want to have my car there? Is it important
Yeah.
for me to have my car there? If so, then I'm going to drive. Like it, and there are routes that you can take from here to Denver that are gorgeous. They're great drives. They're long, sure, but I like to drive. We were talking about this the other day. If I have a group of people that are saying, hey, we're going to take 35 north up to Kansas and then cut west and come into Denver from the east side, I'll fly and meet you there. If they say, we're going to take 287 up through the panhandle, I'm going to ride with them. It just depends.
There's a lot of people that would tell you there's nothing in the panhandle to see, but I'm so proud of you for thinking that there is.
It's more than the panhandle.
That's part of it, though. Like going out and taking a look at West Texas, there's a little bit of appreciation for the kind of people that can live out there.
Yeah.
Because there is so little.
And you think it's different in Kansas?
Yeah, I do.
I saw nothing in Kansas but fields.
Which I think kind of drives that appreciation for people who can live there.
You had to see the people, and we didn't really see the people.
Interesting.
But, you know, it also, here's the thing. If I'm going to go to Chicago and work for a couple of days, yeah, I'm going to fly up there. Not a big deal. If I'm going to go to Chicago and work for a couple of weeks and stay in an Airbnb, I'm going to take my car. Because I want that freedom of movement while I'm there. Yeah. And I don't think one is really all that different than the other. The car takes me a few more hours to get there. But if I'm going somewhere to stay there for a couple of weeks, it probably is better for me to take my car with me than to try and rent one while I'm there. Economically, that's going to be more feasible. So what if it takes me an extra 6 hours travel time?
And you're talking about solo travel too. You're not talking about traveling with other people. So I get that difference is adaptable to you.
Yeah. I think they both have their place.
Yeah.
I'm really curious when you're looking at travel, and I would love to hear from both of you specifically from your lived experience. Do you think that the ability to travel is something that you earn? Or is it just a right that you're granted?
I think it's both.
How do you earn travel?
You have to pay for it.
I've worked up for this. I've saved for this. I've made this plan. I've decided that this was important for me. So I'm going to make this happen.
I think it's both. Like, especially if you're talking about domestically, I have a constitutionally enshrined right to travel within the United States. And so, like, I have the ability to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that it just gets handed to me. I have to be able to facilitate that travel myself.
I guess I see it a little bit differently in that we've kind of said, oh, we would like to do X trip. And then we've planned on that and set aside money to do that. So I don't feel like it's earned per se, but we have focused on what we're going to do and getting ready for it.
More intentional.
Yeah.
Do you think that travel is a luxury?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's a necessity.
And sometimes it's a pain in the butt. I mean, your dad loves to drive, and he could drive from here to Timbuktu and be completely and totally happy. But he's not going to stop along the way to see anything exciting. I mean, we're going to eat well for the most part, but he is not on the journey for the journey. He's on the journey for the destination. I want to do the journey for the journey. I want to stop and see the big, ball of yarn or the, what is it, an armadillo somewhere? I want to see the funny things, and I want to stop and read some of the history signs, and I want to experience a little bit of the local population. I don't want to just drive through town. I want to stop at the local watering hole and just check it out.
I get that. I get that. Do you think that that mindset is based on your upbringing? And I mean, kind of nature versus nurture again here, but about your upbringing on what you value out of getting out of it? Like, why do you think that you and dad differ?
Oh, that's a great question. I think your dad grew up with his dad's family being back in North Carolina.
Mhm.
And so they made a trip once or twice a year. And the goal was to leave Texas and see how fast you could get there. And so they put food in and pallets in and pillows and blankets, and they drove straight through. And so maybe that affects his in some way.
The faster he gets there, the more time he has to spend at his intended destination.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, mine is more, I kind of want to enjoy the journey. I still regret that my goal when I graduated high school was to buy a pickup truck and two German Shepherd dogs. And I wanted to travel the United States. And I figured I could find a job doing something. All I needed was enough to pay, insurance and gas and sleeping arrangements somewhere. But that could be pretty cheap, or you had a truck. And I think I would have been a completely different person if I'd made that trip. I think it would have made me more well-rounded as a person, because I would have been exposed to lots of different culture in the United States, lots of different people, learning to accept and learning to discern. And I just think I would have been a totally different person. And my mom was terrified of a girl getting on the road to do that at 18. And I get that. If I had a brother, she probably wouldn't have flinched. But as a girl, she definitely flinched.
Would that brother have had to go with you? Or just
No,
having
but
a
he could have
brother?
gone by himself. It would have been okay
Okay.
for a brother to go by himself.
Okay. Interesting.
He would have been safer.
I think that it will be really interesting to see here in, let's call it a decade, what the kind of outcome is of all of these people, especially in our kind of generation group of life, of all of those people who did that. I mean, hashtag van life, right? Where they are working remotely, traveling the world. I mean, and they're not just running around in a Volkswagen bus. Some of them are, I guess. But I mean, these are like serious rigs that they have outfitted specifically for this purpose, that they are living and experiencing. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see what they look back on and value and what they missed out on. Hey, yeah, I missed my niece's birth, and I didn't get to see her until she was 2 years old because I was out traveling, trekking around. And so I think it'll be really, I'll be curious to see how they kind of look back on everything. Hindsight,
I'll
right?
have to reach out. I have a friend who's been doing that for a couple of years now. And I know one of their snags was he hurt his back and they had to stop somewhere for surgery.
Yeah.
And so do you come home where you know the doctors, or do you go wherever you are and take the luck of the draw on the doctor?
I think that depends on where you are. If you're in Cleveland, Ohio, I think you can probably find a decent doctor. If you're out in Roswell, New Mexico, I might question it a little bit more.
I just think that's inherent.
But that's why I'm so curious about people like our age who, and you're talking about Kara, because they've experienced both. What did you get out of one? What did you miss from the other? Which one did you prefer? Not to say like, hey, I really wish we hadn't have done that. But this is my perspective on how I came out the other side of it. I'll
Yeah.
be curious. Are they going to continue to do that for another 10 years?
I was just wondering how long they plan to do that.
Yeah. And maybe that just is a consideration at the time. Hey, we're going to commit to this for a year, and then let's reconvene and say, hey, do we want to keep going? Or, nah, we're kind of tired of bumming around. Let's go back home. let's go somewhere.
So would either one of you do that, Cole? You would probably have the hardest time to keep your job and travel like that, and just wherever you could get an internet connection, connect.
I could actually probably do it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Would you?
He hasn't.
If it was more economically feasible, yes. Here's the thing. I need a permanent address that I can record, basically. So, like, I'm going to have a permanent address ahead of time established that has a solid internet connection, but I could go stay in an Airbnb for a week or a month as long as I knew ahead of time exactly where I was going to be. And the difficult part for me would be all of the things that I have to take with me to do my job well. I have a 6-monitor setup. I use 2 different computers at the same time, and I kind of need that stuff. I don't need all of it, but it's a whole lot
Yeah.
easier to do my job well with it. And I can do that, but that's not really feasible in a van. Could I get a Starlink and build a setup in the back of a van? Sure. But is my internet connection going to be stable and consistent enough to do that? Probably not. So, like, I think it would make more sense for me to jump around and say, hey, I'm going to have a 3-month lease here, and then find a new spot to go for the next quarter. That probably makes more sense than trying to do it from the back of a van.
I see. Yeah. But that would be easy to do, really, to find a place that you want to go and explore and
You
do a
say
3-month
that, but
lease.
you're right. I could, but how much is that 3-month lease going to cost? Depending on where I'm going, that is prime real estate right now. So
Yeah.
getting a hotel for a weekend getaway is much more economically feasible than going and getting an extremely high rate rent for a short-term lease.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
I've
just
got
doesn't make
another
a lot of
girl that I
sense.
follow on Instagram that's exactly what she does. She committed to, I think it was originally a year. She started right after COVID and she went to a different place every month. She was living in, like, housed out of Santa Monica, California, if I remember correctly. And so she did a whole cost breakdown. Okay, this is what my rent was in Santa Monica. This is what I paid every month. This is how much time I had to spend to plan to go live in Nashville for a month and then go uproot everything and go to Portland, Oregon and go to here and go to there. And so she went to a different place and spent an entire month there living like a local. She was also very internet based. And so she could go wherever, but she did have to say, hey, I need to make sure that that landlord has a stable internet connection. I have to have a speed test from them on certain days of the week so that I can confirm that this is all feasible and this all makes sense. But she did a full breakdown of her costs out traveling every month versus her cost back home. And it was really, really fascinating and interesting to see how it was kind of the same.
I think it's different though, because that bar is going to start much higher in Santa
Yes,
Monica, California than it is in Denton, Texas.
absolutely.
That's
Totally
true.
agree.
But it
Totally
would be
agree.
fun. And I'm just thinking, you'd have to pare down your clothes. You'd have to pare down maybe you don't need 6 monitors, Cole, and pare down the things that you have around you. Callie, I think you could do that faster and easier
Oh,
than the
yeah,
rest of us.
for sure.
That I think you could walk away from so much and
You're
be
right.
ready to
Maybe I
go.
don't need 6, but I'm better at my job with 6.
I get it. I get it.
And like for me, I don't want to sacrifice the quality of the work that I can do to reward myself. That to me, that trade-off doesn't make sense.
And see, I'd be willing to do that. Don't tell
Oh,
your
yeah.
dad yet, but I think I'd be willing to do that. Hey, let's go here for a month. And I'd need one big monitor and I could work like that
Mm-hmm.
with a decent internet and it wouldn't bother anybody.
Yep. Yep. She had the best time. it was so cool to watch her. And she made a big deal about, okay, I'm getting ready to announce my next location. Anybody have any guesses? This is where we're going. And it
I
was so
think I
fun.
want you to share those links with me. I want to start watching them.
Okay. I'll
I
do it.
think, Boo, I kind of offended you the other day for your dad's benefit when I said if I was single, I would do exactly what I wanted to do when I was 18, and I'd get a truck, get a dog, and I'd be gone. And I think I would be safer at my age from my own, what to look out for and, who's interested in an old lady anyway. But I just think it would be really fun to be able to move around,
Mm-hmm.
to meet people. And that's a weird thing coming from me when I generally say, don't want to be around a lot of people, don't want to be in crowds. But I think that would be fun to just meet individuals along the way.
I feel like in those scenarios, the stakes are a lot lower. You're only going to be there for a period of time and then you leave.
Yeah.
It's not having to entertain all of your neighbors and friends who know you and have known you for all these years and have preconceived notions and all of it. Like, oh, they thought I was weird. Oh, well, bye.
For sure. And I just think I could do it.
Yeah.
I think I'd enjoy doing it. And I want to do it alone. Me and the dog.
And that's why I'm so interested in doing solo travel trips here coming up, because I don't want to have to answer to anybody. I don't have to worry, oh, did so-and-so think that this was going to be a fun place to go to lunch? Oh, what if they don't like this kind of food or this kind of activity? What if they've already seen this and I want to go and make a special point to go there? I'm like, screw it. I'm going because that's what I want to do.
Hold on. Your mama travels really well with you.
That's true.
So I could go.
That's true. But again, I think that the pressure is different. You can go on some of them, but you're not allowed to come on all of them because sometimes I just want to go and maybe I want to do weird shit that you may not enjoy. That sounded gross. That's not where I was going with that.
It sounded really bad.
Not what I meant. I mean, but I think that my threshold for entertainment is pretty easy. And so I could go and it's like you mentioned, I think just recently to somebody else, we were talking about going to New York. And when you and I went to New York City, I had a blast and you were a wreck.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Because you had no fear.
Because I don't.
Take the subway at midnight and not worry about it whatsoever. I was thinking.
Because millions of people do that every day.
I think I also was naive enough to say, like, who's going to mess with me? I'll whoop their ass. And I probably couldn't have, but I thought I could. It was dumb. I didn't know. I would do it differently if I have done it differently now. It's like you said a minute ago.
Because you're a little wiser.
I'm wiser. I look at it a little bit differently. I address my safety a little bit, but I'm much more prepared. It's why I'm really nervous to go to certain places in Europe. Because everybody's like, oh, it's beautiful, but you're going to get pickpocketed. I'm like, what? That blows my mind. I mean, I'm going to whoop somebody's ass. I'm also 6 foot tall and fairly thin. If somebody takes off with my shit, I'm running after them.
You're a good runner.
Yeah, but that's kind of the thing about a pickpocket is that you're not aware when they take it.
Right. And I'm also sitting here, part of it being naivete, going, I think I would know. I think I would know. But that's not something I've ever experienced. Yeah, probably not. But I don't know. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go international. I brought up Europe and things like that. We live in Texas. And so depending on where you are, it's going to take you a minute to get out of Texas, to get into another state. Texas is big, right? And so I think that, I've always heard that people in Texas measure distance via time. where people in the rest of the world measure it via miles. And we're like, oh, no, that's going to take 6 hours. And how many miles? I don't know, 6 hours worth. Whereas somebody else is going to say, oh, that's going to take 400 miles.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean anything to me. How long is it going to take me to get there? But then in Europe, you've got, kind of for discussion's sake, you've got all of the little states like we have in the United States, but they're countries. And so you could hop on a train, which they're known for, and go through several different countries in the matter of a couple of hours. I mean, God forbid you hop off and go experience this country real quick before you go off to the next one. I had some friends who went and lived in the Netherlands, and they would take weekend trips. Oh, and we hit Belgium, and we hit Belarus, and we hit here and here and here and here and here last weekend. Huh? What? And that just does not compute for me somehow.
Well, that's like my boss lives in Illinois, and she said, so I'm just going to run over to Indiana. Well, again, I live in Texas. You don't just run over to another state to get what you need. For her, it was a 30-minute drive. For me, the only way out of Texas is 2+ hours. Any direction, some of them more than that. I mean, it would probably take us.
Oklahoma's only 30 minutes away.
It's a little farther than 30 minutes.
I know a lot of people that make multiple trips a week between here and Oklahoma because they live in Oklahoma and their family is here. Or they have a gym membership in Denton and they don't have a great gym in Oklahoma. And so they drive 30 minutes.
Which isn't really hugely significant. You're going to drive 30 minutes to go to work here.
Yeah.
If you've got a good commute.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
If you don't. So I'm not sure I'm coming for my gym membership, but I get it.
Well,
I'm not going 5 minutes down the road for a gym membership. No.
Well, if you don't have anything and you're really needing to get your pump, maybe you are.
That's what canned goods are for. I think part of me is just kind of jealous about Europeans being able to hop on a train. A, because again, their transit system is so much more advanced and accessible. But B, because they have an opportunity to go to so many different places quickly at a moment's notice. You know, we're sitting here talking about solo trips, and I could hop on a plane and go to anywhere in the continental U.S. over a couple of hours. No big deal. I mean, living in a place where there's an airline hub is pretty simple. Somebody can drop me off and it not be a big deal, and I can go and run and be back by tomorrow. I think that the opportunity to do that, especially via a train, would be cool. That's the one method of transportation that I've not experienced it very much.
That's on my bucket list.
Trains are fine. Better than an airplane. Also a lot slower than an airplane. But
have you seen Some Like It Hot? They had a blast on that train. They were also there with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon, but they had a blast. Still one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. And, you know, I think what you're referring to about being able to travel to different locales, if you will, in Europe, I think that is accessible in certain places in the States, like New England. I think that's a little bit more feasible. Like it's a day trip to go to several different states in that area. Like, hey, I just need to drive over to the city because there's something I want to do there, but they don't live in New York City. That's much more common, not only to commute into the city just because living in that city is so expensive, but in general, there's a much higher population density across that eastern seaboard, if you will. And as you start to get further west, those regions get much larger and larger and larger. And I think that people kind of identify with the state that they're in. But I mean, Texas has 30 different regions. How many different biomes exist in the state of Texas? I mean, people that live in El Paso are different than people that live in Dallas. Those aren't really the same, but they're still Texans. And so you can't say I've been to El Paso. I've experienced what Texas has to offer because that's just a tiny portion of it. But
Right.
you can say, I've been to Manhattan. I kind of know what New York City is about.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think, and maybe it's wrong. I've never been to Europe. And so maybe how I think about it is wrong, and I'll take that. But I can't imagine that traveling from any place in the East Coast around, especially the Eastern Seaboard, around to other states is going to be as diverse, as culturally diverse, as richly diverse as traveling to other countries would be in Europe.
I think that you probably have a leg to stand on, but I would also say that if you take a look at Virginia versus New York City, there's a pretty drastic difference there.
Sure, but what about Spain versus France? France versus Belgium, Austria,
I think France
Greece.
versus Belgium is probably the weakest one you've given there, but
I'm with you, though,
I get what
Kyle.
I get what you're saying, and yeah, I think that there is certainly, like I said, merit in that argument. I don't know because I haven't experienced it for myself, but I would imagine that you're probably going to have similar diversity across the different locales that are accessible there.
I think that all depends on where you go
Sure.
and what you're looking to see. I mean, you meet one Texan doesn't mean that you've met all Texans. And there is a significant diversity here, from culture to ethnicity to exposure. There's a difference there. If you're going someplace like maybe Rhode Island or Virginia, and Rhode Island is super populated, so maybe you're just getting all of that diversity in a smaller area that you're visiting. I still would like to do it.
I still would like to do it, but I think that there's something to be said about more than the dialect changing, but the actual language changing.
I just think Europe has a different mentality than Americans do. And so I think
Sure.
that has to come into play also. I think there's an ease there of them going, from one country to the other country that we don't even think about. It's, that's where the 16-year-old starts going on their own, and you send an American there who's never done that. They're having to learn that. So there's a difference in the culture.
Yeah, but I think that because they're used to it, because Europeans are so native to that, of being so close to everybody else, they look at going to other places, other countries, the same way that we look at going to other states. Like, it's not a big deal for me to hop in the car and run to Arkansas or Oklahoma or Tennessee, like even several states over. Like, okay, it's not a huge deal. I mean, I did it on a whim for work here a year or so ago, where it was like, hey, this needs to be delivered. We got to get it over there. Let's go. We're going. And went and pulled up a deal on the internet and found a Blue Man Group show, and it was great, and stayed overnight and headed back. No big deal. I mean, and that was several states away in Tennessee, and nobody batted an eye. And so I think it just has become much more customary, much more normal, because it's the same way that we view hopping to another state real quick.
Yeah.
It's a non-issue. But
So when you're traveling, do you want it to be high class, or does it matter if it's high class? Do you need to have the best hotel or the biggest car, the deepest bathtub?
I don't really go on vacations for the luxury of where I'm staying. I go on vacations or travel to places because I want to see what those places have to offer. Don't get me wrong. I'm 6'6". Flying in first class is really nice. But is it worth 5 to 10 times the cost of economy? It depends on the flight. If I'm flying to Europe, maybe.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
The 16-hour flight, yeah, that's going to make a big difference. If it's a 90-minute flight to Houston, not that big of a deal.
Suck it up.
I can suck it up for an hour and a half and be fine. And don't get me wrong, staying in a nice hotel is really nice. I can sleep in a crappy Motel 6 with crickets. It doesn't bother me personally all that much. Is it better to stay in a nice hotel? Sure, but it's not really a requirement. Like the last time I went to Vegas, I went with some friends and they got a suite in one of the hotels on the Strip, and it was really cool. But I've also stayed on Fremont in a tiny little, like 8x10 room. I didn't spend very much time in that room. I was in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right.
Callie and I had a hostel in New York that I don't know if I would do again. It was a little scary, but
We also
I've
only
that's
slept
another
there.
difference. Like, I could stay in a hostel, no problem. I'm not scared of other people, but I'm
Yeah.
also 6'6", and most people are afraid of me.
Yeah, on site. I don't think they feel like that to Callie and I.
Yeah, it's very different.
She
Well-
might could go at them and maybe scare them. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I could be weird enough that I would freak them out. And my elbows are really pointy. They're really sharp. I can
I
throw
could be
some pretty
mean.
good jabs.
So, I mean, we had a great time while we were in New York,
Mhm.
and we did lots of things.
Yep.
It-
I will still say that's one of the places that I have only ever been and have felt at home immediately. Comfortable.
which again, I
easy.
think is very strange for me, but I feel the same way, Callie. The first time I went to New York, it felt like, and there were
Yeah.
people all around, and it was busy all the time.
See, that would make me wildly uncomfortable.
I thought it would, Cole, and it didn't.
It's just a big neighborhood.
With lots of diversity and things to watch. It's like a 2-year-old learning everything new. Everything is different. And so you're so focused on what's happening
Anything.
next that it wasn't as
Overwhelming.
terrifying as you might think it would be.
If you can handle Vegas, especially the Strip, you'll be fine.
There are some benefits. There are some downsides.
Sure. And again,
I
I'm not saying
don't
I
think I
wouldn't
wanna-
go.
I don't want to live in New York City.
Definitely not.
I'd be
But-
fine.
I don't mind going to explore.
I will
there's
tell
just-
y'all a funny story. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say there's lots of things to do and lots of things to check out.
So I was in New York one time with a friend. We talked about it here the other day when we were talking about alcohol. And we went on like a cocktail tour of the city. And we checked into the hotel and walked out of the hotel to hit up our first spot. And there was a penny on the ground and it was face up. So I reached down and threw it in my pocket. And the person I was with goes, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I was like, it was a lucky penny. I picked it up. And he was completely floored. He goes, "Everyone on this island now knows that you're not from here." I was like, okay, I need 1.5 sentences out of my mouth and they already know that I'm not from here. Like, this is not a surprise to anyone. I will say he was completely flabbergasted. And then we went through and did all kinds of things. And he turned to me later in the trip. He's like, "All of this is happening because of that lucky penny. I am so glad you picked up that lucky penny. This has never happened to me in the entirety of all the times I've been here. Nothing like this has ever happened to me." I'm like, well, and they still know I'm not from here.
And that's okay.
Yeah, why not? Who cares?
I actually think that if you're from the South, you have an advantage of being somewhere else
Friendliness.
because There's a friendliness there.
Yes.
There's an openness there that people are a little fascinated. And then you get to the accent and they just want to stand there and listen to you. And
Mm-hmm.
you're just saying what you're saying, but they want to
I think
listen.
that, I don't know. I think there's a little bit of a catch to that because, like, if you, and we talked about this a little bit before, if you go on Reddit and you ask, hey, like, people in Europe, what have you learned about Americans that you've encountered as they're traveling in Europe? Our openness and friendliness makes a lot of people really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that it does. I think that if somebody from Boston walked into a place and somewhere in Europe and I walked into there with them and we saw how people's interactions were with the two of us, I think we would have very different experiences. I am disarming and charming, and all of a sudden I can just make new friends. And
Yeah. I think it all depends on the person because I think,
yes,
Callie, you're right. You could walk in and I could say this, every old man in the place would immediately be drawn to you, whether you were from Texas or not. I mean, they just would. And so
yeah. But I think that that Southern charm makes a difference. I think that you're right. They would, and then the moment that they started talking to me, the mannerisms in which I utilize, that makes it sound so like intentional, and it really isn't. It's just who I am. But I'm going to ask about them. What do people love to talk about more than themselves? And I'm
Yeah.
going to take a genuine interest in them, and I'm learning their perspective and what they're experiencing and all of these things. And that is, again, really disarming to people. I remember sitting in a lobby in Santiago, Chile, when I cannot tell you, I was there for 10, 15 days, something like that. And how many times people would come up to me. All I've done is ordered a glass of water or ordered a cocktail from the bar. And they would come up to me and say, hey, you're from Texas, right? Hey, we heard you talking to somebody yesterday. Where in Texas are you from? Hey, what do you think about what's going on politically right now? I did not ever sit in the lobby of that hotel, like in the bar lounge of that hotel, without being stopped by somebody from somewhere else in the world. There were other people from various places in Texas. Hey, I can hear your accent. Where in Texas did you come in from? Oh, I came in from Houston. Oh, cool. We're from Austin. I talked to people from Austria and Germany. I had a guy from London. I had people from the Netherlands. I had people from Brazil. I mean, I never ever sat quietly in that lobby because people came up to me just to start chatting, and they wanted to know about where I was from and what we were doing and how I got there and tell me about what they were doing. They had questions that they wanted answered.
but I think there's
Okay.
a difference. I think there is an American arrogance that comes sometimes, and I'm not sure that you really give off that American arrogance, and that's the difference. So you could have two people from the same place walk in and be received totally different just
Right.
because of how they behaved.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's why I use
So
my example of me and somebody from Boston who has a much more brash personality just naturally. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just is perceived different than my Southern charm. Hey, let's chat. Okay. Sounds
I
good.
don't think that's Southern charm though, because you and I could go sit at that same bar and not get the same reaction you did.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You may not want it and you may not immediately agree that it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I know this because I have watched it happen. I have been to places with you and somebody's like, oh, hey, so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da. Let me talk to you.
Okay.
I've watched it.
Okay.
It just cracks me up. But do you think that kind of along these same lines, do you think that traveling makes you more empathetic, or does it just make you more interesting at, say, a dinner party?
I think
I
it
don't think it
depends.
inherently makes you more empathetic. I think it can,
Mhm.
Okay.
but again, that's going to differ from person to person. It depends on why are you traveling? What are you there for? How are you interacting with your surroundings?
So, yeah, person to person.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it depends on what you do and how you behave there as to whether that does. The hope is that you will recognize cultural differences and be able to look at them and evaluate them and see how they are different from yours. Maybe make changes, but I think that there are a lot of people who would walk in and not ever see any of that and just bulldoze their way right through.
Yeah. I mean, if it's me, I'm not going to go to Afghanistan and expect there to be a hamburger on every menu. It's just, that's not what I'm expecting. But there are people who would behave that way. You have a question here, and I think that we just kind of touched on it a little bit. But do travelers have a responsibility to prepare and adapt? And I think yes. Just like I was talking about, like if I'm going to go to a country that doesn't speak English, I should probably learn some of that language so that I can function and find a bathroom in that country or find a train station or ask for directions in a place that doesn't put someone out. Because here, I'm asking you for a favor. I have to come to you to ask for that favor. I can't expect you to come to me and then
assume it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that there is a responsibility for travelers.
At this point, I want some of those translation earbuds that I can wear wherever I'm going so that I understand it. I just think that would be fascinating to try.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that's one way to do it.
Because I think that that's respectful. Like, I'm not
Yes.
automatically assuming that you're going to figure out my language and you're going to meet my needs in your home country with all of your creature comforts. You need to adapt to me. I think that that's the responsibility that you have as a traveler, to be open to adapting to somebody else. And that's
What's
not to
there.
say that, what you're trying to go and experience or what's surrounding you in those experiences. I mean, but that was one of the funny things, like, especially in Chile, they primarily speak Castilian Spanish. And I don't know Castilian Spanish. And so they would they would immediately come up and start talking to me in Spanish, and they would see me attempting to kind of figure it out as I went. And then they would go, "Oh, we can adapt to you." But then there were also people at the same time that they were like, "I don't know what you're saying. This is what I want you to do." And they're like, "Okay." And it just was not nearly as well received.
If you
And I
meet
get
somebody
that.
halfway, they're going to be much more willing to meet you in the middle.
Yeah, catching flies with honey.
Okay. I want to ask this one because I really did grow up traveling in the car. I do not remember my parents traveling by airplane until I was probably in, I'm going to say high school, late junior high school. And those were business trips that they took then. So, I mean, my sister and I joke that if you put us in the car, the sound of the wheels going immediately makes us go to sleep. And we rest so well that it's just comfortable because we did it so much. I mean, my mom had a stackable picnic deal, stainless steel stackable, and she would do our meals. Each one of us got a plate, and that might be fried chicken that she'd done. Or, I mean, we had food, good food, and we would stop somewhere at a rest stop, or sometimes it was just in the car, and everybody got their plate and got to eat, and we went on down the road. And there wasn't a lot of, are we there yet kind of thing, because we just knew we weren't there until we got there. But we did that in all kinds of different places. I mean, we drove to Florida, we drove to Austin, we drove to Arizona. Dad's family drove to North Carolina. Y'all didn't make a lot of trips like that, I don't think.
I learned how to
Yeah.
shuffle cards on a trip to North Carolina.
Yeah.
I also remember us taking, I remember we went out to Arkansas one time, the four of us with Dad,
Yes.
where we went out to Arkansas and went fishing out there. And we were using canned corn, and the boys got mad because I was catching fish. I had no idea what I was doing and why it worked. I just got lucky. And I mean, I remember sitting out there in front of that cabin at a picnic table playing games and things like that. I mean, I remember traveling back and forth to Lorenzo, back out to Lubbock, laying in the floorboard of the Suburban on Game Boys. I mean, I remember all kinds of weird road trips like that.
So would you still take Cole, you've kind of already said that you would, and that you sometimes have a preference over a car trip rather than a plane trip, depending on where you're going to go. Does it bother y'all to take a road trip in a car?
I mean, here, 2
No.
years ago, I took a huge road trip hauling my Jeep in a trailer, an enclosed trailer out to Moab, Utah. Was out there for almost a month and had a blast. I mean, I think it just depends on, kind of like Cole said, I think it depends on kind of what I'm planning on doing. Like, we loaded Hippo up so that we could take her out to go out to all of the places, all of the Badlands and stuff like that, and go off road and do that with her. And it was a blast. But I mean, could you go out there and rent a Jeep and go and do it yourself? Sure, absolutely. But it's different. And so that made a lot of sense. I road trip to Tennessee the other day. I mean, okay, let's go. I think it depends on the time. I think it depends on who I'm with, what the intentions are. I've met you and Dad on a road trip. I flew in on a plane to meet you guys in Savannah, Georgia, and head up to North Carolina just to fly back. I think I was out there for a weekend.
Yeah, we had a great time.
We had a blast and we ate well.
We did eat well.
I'm not opposed to a road trip.
Yeah, not at all. It really just depends. Like, if I'm going to have a buddy, if I'm going to have somebody with me and we're going to stop and do things on the way, especially on a longer road trip, yeah, totally. Load up in the car. I've got a van. It handles good. It drives good. It's comfortable to ride in. It's way better than economy on an airplane. It's going to take longer to get there. And so it depends. Are we going for a week? Do we have time to drive? Is that going to hinder our plans? Then let's drive. Are we going to stay for 2 nights and we're kind of constrained? Okay, we're leaving on a Friday morning and we need to be back by Sunday night. I'm probably going to fly just because it's faster, but I'm not opposed to taking a road trip at all. I also like to drive. I just don't like driving around other people. So I really like to road trip at night.
Yeah. You did a great job as our driver a couple of weeks ago. I was very glad to have you as our driver. The dream trip you want to take?
How long you got?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Cal?
How long you got? I have a list longer than my arm, and I have really long arms.
I'm just saying, what's the dream trip?
I have several. I would love to go to Japan. I think going to Australia would be really interesting.
Yep.
I've heard that New Zealand is a better kind of travel destination, but there are places in both that I think would be interesting to see. And culturally, I think it would be really interesting to see both. There are places in the States that I would like to go and spend more time. I would love to go spend some time in Montana just to be in Montana. I would love to go back to Alaska. Alaska is one of my favorite places that I've ever been. It's just stunning to see it.
Yeah.
I would also love to travel to Europe. I mean, there are places in Europe that I think would be really interesting just to get exposure to that different culture. There are certainly places in Eastern Europe that I think would be really interesting. Like, I would love to go to Moscow and St. Petersburg and see parts of Russia.
Let's not do that right now, though.
Still, places that I would like to see. So I'm not planning a trip there tomorrow.
Callie?
But there are still places that I think would be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Are yours all international, Cal?
Nope, they are not all international. I think some of the kind of big ones on my list are definitely international. I have kind of a bucket list, a travel bucket list of seeing a bunch of the big, huge fireworks shows. That's why I went to Santiago. They have one of the top 10 New Year's fireworks shows in the world. Sydney has a really big one. London has a big one. New York City I mean, seeing that one was cool. There's a bunch in Japan. I mean, China was the inventor of fireworks. And so I think I certainly have got some places that are on my list just to see fireworks. Like Sydney, you have to book like 3 years out to be anywhere on the harbor to go and see their New Year's fireworks show. And so that
Gosh.
requires some planning. You and I have had a plan to go to Ireland. We had everything booked and then I got sick and we had to cancel it at the last minute. I'm really sorry about that. I still feel guilty, but I would love to go and complete that. I've got some places in Canada that I want to go visit. I've got some places in California that I want to go see that I've never been to, and I would like to go and navigate and wander around. And I think that my list of places that I don't want to go is much shorter than the ones I do.
Yeah. I would like to go to Ireland with you, very specifically with you, because
Yep.
I think it would be fun with you to take a little redhead to Ireland. I just think that would be fun. I would love to do the California coast. That would, it's just such a different place. And we have some friends who want to take me to Mecca, California. So I've got to go there. I would love to do some type of train ride. And I don't know where that necessarily has to be. You know, is that Dallas to Houston or is that somewhere more fun?
I would say the Amtrak in California would be a much more enjoyable experience than trying to take a train from Dallas to Houston.
Yeah. Well, there's a new train that's going, and I'm thinking that it's Dallas to Houston.
There's
I
a
could be wrong.
vacations by rail that have destinations
Yeah.
all over the country. Like, hey, we're going to take one from Dallas to Chicago across to Seattle, and these are all the stops that we're going to do along the way. I think it would be a blast.
Yeah. Y'all help me remember this because we did it, I think, as a story one time where is it a train that it's going to these little bitty small towns and stopping and giving you the opportunity to spend the night and go to their local saloon or visit their local museum. And it's little places. That would be fun. I would love doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go to Possum Kingdom for fireworks. I want to see.
They do really good ones.
Yeah, I want to see the lights. What am I trying to say?
Aurora Borealis.
I want to see the Aurora Borealis. And this year, I could have just gone to northern United States and seen them and should have hopped on a plane to do that. And will
You
the
could see
next
them in
opportunity
Dallas
that
for a
comes up.
period of time. We saw them in Houston.
I didn't see them in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, you could have. There was a period of time where they were visible. I had
See?
friends who were going to Iceland at the time to go and see them while they were here.
Yeah. Now, see, I just need to get on the right thread so that I know where they're going to be and I have time to hop up there and go. But yeah, and I don't care how we get there. I just want to enjoy the journey along the way.
Yep. I like it.
Okay. Who's got the weird thought?
So I've got our weird thought. So it's kind of strange and a little travel related. So right at a month ago, the new legislation went into place in Australia to ban social media for teens and children. And so I have been doing some reading on what that last month has looked like, what it has kind of done, and how it has been impacting people. And I thought it was just so interesting that I wanted to chat about it with you guys. So they put this ban in place to remove social media for people 16 and under. And after 30 days, a variety of various social media companies have removed more than 5 million accounts.
5 million.
Yes, have been either removed or restricted significantly. I think that it is so interesting. I think that it will be, I suspect that this is going to be kind of like, especially kids during COVID. Oh, I didn't get to have a graduation ceremony. I didn't get to have a wedding and things like that. That those people who are part of this transition are going to be really grumpy. this is what I've known and you've now taken it away. This is what I was preparing for and expecting, and it's now gone. And so I think that there's going to be some friction that causes, but I will be really, really curious to see, hopefully, the advantages of what doing so actually looks like long term, and would
I'm
love to
so
see it
curious
implemented other
if
places.
in a month those teenagers are like, yeah, it's okay. Don't
Yeah.
miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're going to have a detox period, and then you're going to be like, and I also read that they were already finding ways around it, to circumvent the law. But at the same time, I think it's going to be better for them in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. I mean, all of the enforcement of that is evolving in real time. It's really interesting to watch. I think that the fines that are being levied against companies who fail to comply are significant. They're up to $33 million US dollars per breach. And so there are some significant implications for companies who are not, or who fail to comply. Um, and I think that you're right. I think that there are certainly some, what I would call, kind of black market websites and all that are looking to circumvent these regulations and things, or pushing these teenagers who are used to it and who are frustrated by this to less regulated apps. And I hope that it will be a positive step forward, even though I suspect it is really painful for some people.
Yeah. I bet it is painful and I bet it is hard, but I'm hoping that in the long run it's good. What I'm really curious about is that going to be the place that it starts and then there's a windfall
Domino
that,
effect.
yeah, domino
Mhm.
effect in other countries that see this? I mean, you already see the United States restricting phones in school and with a variety of how they're doing that. And the question after that is, how does that generation change when they don't have that as their main source of everything?
Yeah.
And how quickly will you see that?
Yeah.
It's going to be
Well,
interesting.
and the impacts of it. Like, there are people who are proponents of all of this saying, hey, this is going to isolate all of these young people. And I'm sure to some extent that's true. But how
It
do
might not.
they counteract it to where they're
Yeah.
not just interacting online? Now they have time to go get out in the streets face to face and spend time together, and what
And
that
what if
all
they
looks
do that?
like. Yeah. I mean, the EU's already looking at legislation. I mean, all of this stuff in Australia is very definitely on the world stage, and everybody's watching to see how it goes and see what it looks like. And so we shall see.
Be interesting.
I think it's interesting.
Cole, you got good news?
Sure. So in late November, a group of Cub Scouts was hiking in a downpour in Golden Ears Provincial Park in British Columbia, Canada, when they came across a washed out river and bridge with 3 hikers on the other side signaling for help. These hikers were ill prepared for the rapidly approaching inclement weather and may have been forced to spend the night outdoors if the Cub Scout group had not found them. After contacting authorities to assist with the rescue, the group of elementary school kids gave the teenage hikers food, thermal blankets, and hand warmers from their supply packs. Kyle Lee from the group of hikers said, "We're just so happy that they found us." One of the rescued hikers then said, "We were just really grateful that they were there." So these group of Cub Scout boys coming to the rescue for another group of outdoor appreciators in BC is a pretty good story.
That's really fun that
But
you've got
also,
elementary school
yeah,
kids doing the rescue.
of teenagers.
Yeah,
I wonder
that's fun.
how that changes the way that they view other teens in their lives, or, I mean, the respect or camaraderie of them. I think that's really cool.
Fun
Also,
story.
be aware of your surroundings, folks. Be careful.
True. It's a good one to highlight some kids. I like it.
I love you guys.
Love you guys too.